Welcome to Leaders in DevSec. Today we're speaking with the future leader of DevSec, Lexi Condon, about finding the aha moment in your career. Lexi has had an interest in tech from a young age. She was awarded early admissions to study computer science at University of Wollongong, where she went on to be the president of the Information Technology Society and win a Junior Women Tech Makers Google Scholarship. Lexi now works in AV and video conferencing at the Department of Health. Lexi, welcome to Leaders in DevSec.
Thank you.
Now, Lexi, we first met you when you topped the leaderboard at a Secure Code Warrior tournament at AMP Bank a very long time ago. Since then, we've seen you continue your security journey. You're competing in multiple community tournaments. But what I find the most fascinating is the story of how you ended up entering the SCW tournament. So let's start with that story. So you're at AMP Bank. What was your role there, and how did you get pulled into that Secure Code Warrior tournament?
So at AMP Bank, I was an IT unit tester, which meant I went around and I tested polycoms every single morning. It wasn't the most glorious job, but one day my team lead actually noticed I was programming a bit, and he saw that the Secure Code Warrior competition was coming up, and he started to say, "Oh, you should go into it. It's only on this afternoon. Have a go." I ended up getting onto the demo, really enjoying it. And then I nervously went up to do the competition. And to my surprise, my colleagues showed up to actually cheer me on. And I found the competition to be exactly what I needed. It was the most intense and most fun tournament I've done with anything security. And it felt great to compete against so many really brilliant, intelligent developers.
Now, did you already have an interest in software security, or was this kind of your first intro to, hey, this is how things can go horribly wrong when it comes to software security?
I had an interest in it a long time ago, back when I was far younger, early high school. I learnt that I could mod games, change code, thought to myself I needed to learn some more security practices because I started to break into websites as part of my journey. So down the line, I thought to myself, I need to learn more than HTML, I need to learn more than CSS, I need to learn about databasing. So as I was mucking around with some websites, I learnt that I could inject some SQL code into the login sections. I could get into admin sites. I could change things so I could keep reusing the same discount code over and over again to almost put into the negative some of the things I wanted to buy. And it kind of clicked to me at one point, this is really not okay. I could take money from these websites. I could take money from these companies, and that's taking money out of someone else's pocket. That's incredibly wrong. I need to help them understand that this is bad. So I tried to find out how I could reach out to these people and say to them, hey, your website, you've got these flaws on it. I'd like to help you fix it. And that's where I went.
That sounds so similar to so many people that end up in that security world because they notice all of these things going on that typically people don't talk about. Now, for those of us that haven't really delved into this world of hacking websites and HTML and CSS, how difficult is it? Like, did it take you lots and lots of time, or did you have to do lots of training and lots of study to be able to hack these websites? Just paint a picture for us.
Everyone seems to think that the start of programming is going to be incredibly difficult, but it's about finding the language that kind of goes with you. It clicks in your head almost. I started off with HTML as it was rather easy. Everything made sense. You could see how it went. I slowly moved down to Python. And throughout doing that, I learnt these little programs I could make. And then I thought to myself, well, I can break these programs. I'm breaking websites, but these are how I can fix these flaws, fix these websites, get around the issue. And that's where it started to kind of go for me. Hey, this is like hacking a website. This is a security thing that I'm doing. I should probably utilize what I've been doing lately.
And what do you think the general security awareness is like, say, within your friends that study computer science with you or your cohort at university? Do you think this is a common thing that a lot of students find, or do you think most people would just be oblivious to how easy it is to hack so many of these websites?
I noticed that throughout my cohort, everyone fought for our cybersecurity subject that we did have. It was just going to be a little bit of math, a little bit of CAPTCHA, a little bit of change here and there, and that was it. I started to notice what I referred to as dirty code. It was code that, even though it looked quite smart and intelligent and great, there were holes all through it, and it was an absolute mess when it would come to wanting it to work without having these flaws.
It's one of those things, right? Once you start to see code with that perspective, you can never unsee it. So you just start to find holes everywhere. Now, you won quite a few prizes at these tournaments that you've been competing in, and we've seen your name pop up so many times, doing so well. Do you have any tips for fellow developers on how to win at these tournaments? Do you have any sort of winning strategy that you use?
So my winning strategy is I like to try and solve it as fast as I can, even though that's usually what gets me the most points. I have in my head constantly, what is the back door in this code? I need to find the back door, and then how would I fix it? You need to think like the other developer. As much as you're trying to find what you think looks wrong, you need to think to yourself, what am I exploiting? Why am I exploiting it? How do I fix that?
It's interesting. So do you think coders will make good hackers?
I think coders will make brilliant hackers. They just need to understand that security falls heavily in line with programming.
I guess it's similar to how you have to learn the art of, say, unit testing, for example, right? Because then you start to test out all these edge cases that typically you would miss as an engineer because you're focusing on the happy part, and security is kind of similar where you now have to start looking at holes from a security perspective, and they might end up like you, where they next time they look at the code, they're just seeing security holes everywhere, which is, I think, a state we would love for every single developer to be.
It definitely started off with unit testing. I can certainly thank all those polycoms. I learnt so many different bugs, issues, flaw designs in every single one of those meeting rooms, and then it started to click for me. Wait a minute, there's a bit of a pattern here. Every machine has its fault. What's going on with the programming? Why are they releasing software updates, patches? And then it went, hey, this is in the programming.
See, that's good advice for anyone who's listening, who's in the testing team or the QA team. According to Lexi, they will also make great hackers. So you want to pursue a career in security, go for it. Now, one of the things that you mentioned, Lexi, was that it was actually your manager who saw you programming and then suggested that you enter the competition. What's been your experience like with security in the workplace? Do you think that is something that gets its due regard?
Security in the workplace, it's quite funny. I've noticed a poll at one of the places I worked at that some people think that security isn't part of their job, when it's quite funny. Security is everyone's job. You could click on an email that could be a phishing attack. You could accidentally give out your PIN to a meeting room that would then have a consultation with a patient or someone very confidential in it. There is so many different factors in security. We all play the major role in making sure that we've got ourselves covered.
Um, and now, Lexi, you're doing amazing work at the moment in AV and video conferencing. What does the future look like for Lexi? Do you plan to continue studying or working further into the security space?
I'd like to start off with getting my foot deep down into security, eventually going on to maybe managing a security team one day and helping instill practices in them of making sure that they review their code. I see the future is definitely going towards video conferencing for everyone else, but I don't think people understand yet how important it is to make sure that you've got everything encrypted, you've got your security in place there, and you all trust each other on what you're doing in the company.
Totally agree, and I think there's been quite a buzz about that in the media in recent times as well, with everyone moving into a digital workplace. Obviously, so much of the work moving to video conferencing. So there's definitely a great need for more security scrutiny in that space. Now, you've got the attention of a very smart audience here, Lexi. They are very smart programmers and AppSec people. They're security conscious. Obviously, if they're here, they want to improve the state of software security. what's the number one security lesson that you've learned in your experience that you like to pass on to everyone else? The stage
No,
is yours.
the number one security lesson I've learnt is always get your code peer reviewed, pen test it. You'll regret it if you don't. If you do not try and break what you make before you make it into production, you are going to have some major problems. We're all playing for the same team in the company. We're your greatest allies in security. Do not be afraid of what we're doing. Do not think that we're trying to take stuff away. We're just trying to make it safer.
Yeah, which is very useful to know, right? Because sometimes the security team can come off as the adversary when they're really not. They're really trying to help. So we all must work together. And I think the same thing goes for the security team as well. Understand the pressures and the priorities that the development team has, and really help them. Let's go a step beyond and help each other, because yes, we are all batting for the same team.
100%. Don't be upset when they take away Hotmail and Gmail when it comes to working in corporate. They're doing it for a reason.
That's it. Lexi, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great having you here.
Thanks for having me.